Have you been traveling far? I have. This is Clark coming to you live on the herd to get participation in this great country of ours to take this nation of ours back from we have over the our people in charge, if you will, of what we want to be done in this country. Pay them off and buy them with cash and what have you, and then we completely lose our over time. I think they just want dumb people in office so that they can have an easier time controlling. Send a Mr. Smith to Washington, he might be a little harder to control than Mr. Joe. Give me an envelope. Person. Our country has got serious problems, and we need to have leadership. And the idiots that we've had running this country for the last 10 years have not worked. And when I say 10 years, car industry, you name it, the result of Barney Frank and Chris Dodd, and every person needs a house, so they'll vote for us mentality, 125% loan to value, were just idiotic, stupid things that people do to get votes. It's kind of like what we're doing now by allowing all these people to flood into our country. We don't know who they are or the big negotiation with the Iranians over the nuclear agreement, whatever, off the damn planet. What are we doing? We need to keep it in such a way that we can blow them off the planet. Anytime somebody gets out of control, out of whack, like the Iranians, Iraqis, all the people over there in the Mideast have a tendency to do, they're radicals. They're fundamentalists. They're religious fundamental fanatics, and they want to kill all infidels. And this is their makeup. This is what they were raised on. This is their mentality. They've been brainwashed. And why would we ever consider for a second letting these type of radicals into this country? And the only reason is because they would have a propensity to vote liberal. That's the only reason, folks. Otherwise, what is it? Tell me, have someone call into this show and tell me what is the reason why we have to let in all these people? And don't give me this malarkey. Oh, we're human people. We have to take care of the downtrodden and this and that. And that's what America is. Where does that come from? You're as indoctrinated as the Mideast fanatics are. What's wrong with you people? They're coming in here, blowing up places, shooting people, running airplanes into buildings. Those were 19 Saudi Arabians, in case you've forgotten. Okay, they were Muslims. And that's what ran those airplanes into our towers and killed over 3,000 Americans. They were Muslims, okay? Now, they were radical Muslims, I'll give you that. Not all Muslims fit into that category. Not all Christians are good people either. There's bad Christians. There's bad, every religion, there are bad people. That just goes to the nature of things. People aren't born with the same wiring that others of us are. Thank God we have more people wired right than wrong. But you keep with administrations like what we just came through with Obama, you're going to have more and more people wired wrong because look at what's coming out of college these days. These people don't have a clue. You go in the streets and you try to interview these people as to what they know, and they know very little, if anything. It's really pathetic. It really is. And this is what we get when we keep dumbing down our college students, dumbing down our testing scores, dumbing down everything. It's like having a team where everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy. We can't have little Junior not thinking that he was on the winning team. I mean, this is just a bunch of hogwash. We've got to get back to a country that has common sense. And if we don't go there, folks, we're never going to get there. I mean, we're going to have to get rid of these parties, these two diversive, dividing parties that we have, no matter what they call themselves at the moment, Republicans and Democrats. We need to get rid of them. Nobody can call themselves a party because that's disingenuous to what the America is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be united. We're supposed to be the United States, remember? It's in our name, for God's sake. Not the divided states. No, a United States. We need to be all one. Uh, and this is what the country was founded on, that principle. And we have to get back to it. Anything that doesn't make sense or isn't good for America, we have to do away with it. We have to be what's good for this country. And it's not letting in a bunch of undocumented people or anybody, whether they're documented or not. Why do we let these people into this country? Other countries don't have an open border policy where they just let people in willy-nilly. Why should we? When we did have immigration policies, we had like quotas, if that's the right word. We had a number of people we could bring in from various places in the world, and they had to go through a vetting process to where they had to prove who they were, what they were. They had to prove that they had substance to be able to support themselves with, that they wouldn't come into this country and go directly to welfare lines and get a free check and free food stamps and all this other garbage. Why do we need any of that going on? We don't. It's very simple. We need to have people in this country assimilate to America for the purpose of being Americans, not come in here for the purpose of killing us. We need to assimilate to our American values. And if you don't want to live under those rules, don't come in. Just stay the hell out of here. We don't need you. And, we just simply don't need you. So go away. And all these goody two-shoe people that have this idea that, we need to be open to all people and all this and all that. We're a melting pot of different ideas and different this. And you know what? Screw you. You're ruining this country with your stupid ideology, okay? We are America first. If you want to be an American, support America, fight for our goals and our beliefs, then fine. You can come in here and be part of America. Otherwise, get the hell out of Dodge. We don't want you. Simple as that. We have to get some strength back in our leadership. We need to get strong people in positions of power, not whips like Paul Ryan. I thought Boehner was a whip up there crying all the time. Boy, I'll tell you what, this Paul Ryan, if we are divided at all, the conservatives, I'm talking Republicans, whatever you want to call it, so we're basically a two-party system here. We have to get rid of those two parties. We have to become no parties. Not a bunch of parties, not this or that, like some people have thrown out there. No, we need no parties. Because what is a party? It is a facility to where special interests can buy off the party, and then the parties buy off the elected people that we the people elect. We need to stop that. We need to send people to the various positions that they're elected to. We have to make sure that they stay loyal to us, and we need term limits. We need to have an aggressive term limit policy that you're only going to be a so-and-so, whatever it is, for so much time, and once those terms are up, you're out. And we need to have constant turnover, constant. We can't let anybody like a Harry Reid get cemented in his chair in Washington, D.C., and come out with nuclear options and all the other garbage that's come from this type of person. He's a despicable, corrupted individual, and we can't allow anybody to get their hands on the strings of power in this country ever. We have to have new blood all the time. We have to have the policies of this country come from the people, and that's the way this country needs to be run. And I think we need to completely revamp a lot of ways that we do things. This whole political process we have set up is broken. What company runs this way to where you have somebody elected to a position or the owners, the stockholders, what have you, agree to hire a certain party to put them in charge to be the CEO, let's say, of the company, and they make policies and they have the authority to run the company. When we don't like how it's working out, the stockholders, the owners, they can fire that particular person and replace them with another one. That's the way all companies are run, not just here in the United States, but basically all over the world. If you're going to have a successful company, you need a company with good leadership, good policies, good productive basic business plans, and a map, if you will, for success. And you can't have diversity. You can't have half of your company against everything you do and half of your company for it. That won't work. And that's exactly what Congress is half is for and half are against. And in a divided country, this is pathetic. This type of a system will never be productive. So we have to get rid of that. Now, it's going to take a lot of work. It's probably not going to be done overnight, but there are some things that we can do overnight. We have to demand that our elected officials have term limits all the way up the ladder. We've done that somewhat locally here in Nevada, but we have to go on up the ladder to where everybody elected in the state of Nevada and for U.S. positions like our congressmen and senators have to abide by a term limit. And just to pick a number, let's say 2, and that's it, and you're done, you're gone. I think that having a congressman for 2 years is kind of a short amount of time because you're like always running for re-election. You don't get anything done. But if we can eliminate the 2 parties to where special interests don't control those people for the whole 2 years that they're there with promises and envelopes and everything else, maybe the 2 years would be enough to get something done for the American people. And if these parties want to be reelected, then they're going to have to do a good job, and the electorate may send them back for another term. If they don't, goodbye, see you later. You know what? If this government shut down tomorrow, we wouldn't be losing much, I tell you what. There's a few functions that this government does that are primarily necessities of the government process, and those we need to keep. One of them is the military. I don't think the electorate should have much to do at all with the military, other than general fundamental oversight. And that, if push comes to shove, we have to have a provision for that. But I think we need to stop having the President of the United States, the Chief Executive Office of the military, because that doesn't work. You can't elect a dog catcher from Chicago like what we have now in charge of the military who doesn't have the first clue about how the military functions, what it's supposed to do, what its objectives are. We have a leader, which I'm reluctant to call him anything. A leader certainly doesn't fit it. But you have a guy drawing lines in the sand and this and that. He's just an incompetent boob, is what he is. And we need to never, ever have ourselves subject to the whims of some person that's not qualified to be in a position, especially one so fundamentally important to the United States, like our military. We have to have career, qualified, came through the ranks in charge of the military. People that know how the military is supposed to work, have been trained in that. That's their life work, that's their career. These are the type of people that should be making the decisions when we get into a situation where we have conflicts or what have you. We need people there that are tried and true, not somebody that may have been elected 2 months prior, let's say, for example, doesn't know dick about what he's being asked to do when it comes to the military. Is that the type of people we want to have, like Hillary's running around now, sprouting out about fingers on the button? Do you want her fingers on the button? Hell no. Her finger on that reset button with Russia didn't work out too well. It sure as hell ain't going to work out well on the button of the nuclear arsenal. And then she has the audacity to say that Trump is not doesn't have the right temperament to be a president. Look at her record. Look what was just exposed the other night on Hannity with that person, that ex-Secret Service agent that wrote a book about the Clintons when he was in the White House, the going-ons there about the little perversions that Obama would have with dirty towels and bodily fluids and stuff that they had to put in plastic bags to get rid of, and walking in on the president, various compromising positions, one with his daughter of Mondale. I mean, this is a despicable Clinton history that they had while they were in the White House. And here we're thinking of electing another one? You've got to be kidding me. Ask Vince Foster what he thinks about the Clinton administration. Supposedly, he committed suicide because of it. Well, if you believe that, that's fine. That's up to you, your thoughts. But let me tell you this, why did he commit suicide if that's the way you want to go? Something had to be pretty goddamn bad going on there, where a guy that's educated and has been risen to the level that he was in the White House, to have a position of semi-power, whatever it is. I mean, for a guy like that to off himself, he could have had a career just about anywhere in the country, or the world for that matter. Why did he have to kill himself? What was so bad? Well, it had to do with the Clintons. What else do you need to know? Everything that attaches themselves anywhere around those people results in devastation. You've got dead bodies following them all the way to the White House from Arkansas back in the 90s. I mean, these are despicable trailer trash type people, or what they are. They're not qualified. When they left the White House, they were taking everything with them that wasn't nailed down. They were taking the dishes and the silverware. And I mean, what the hell kind of people are these? And we think we're going to put them back in the White House? Just pay attention, folks, because this country is in bad shape. And it's bad in a lot of ways. It's bad with the way that other nations look at us. We have to be respected. This world needs a leader, a country that can lead and not try to overtake all the other countries like Germany did. And, the Mao regimes and Stalin and all these. I mean, come on. We need a world where we have an America. To be honest with you, it has to be a country exactly like what we have been for the 200 years that we've been around. We have been the leader in the world. We have been the safety net for the world. Anytime some disaster happens someplace, America's there with their checkbooks out, trying to write checks and take care of it and help the people out and do this and that. When some leader gets out of whack, out of hand, and needs to have something done, we have to do something about it. It's as simple as that. And we need to have that type of stuff go on. It's all there is to it. I'm on the air. What is it? Fine, I'm on the radio. Good on. I'm so important, I have to take these important calls. Anyways, I was talking about the importance of America and how great we have been in the past. And we need a country like America. And there's no other country out there that can do what we do. Do you want to trust China? Do you want to trust Russia? Who do you want to trust? You want to trust Cuba? Do you want to trust Venezuela? Who else is there out there to be in charge of this world like America has been? And we don't try to take over other people, other countries' property. We never have. We try to protect and we try to promote democracy and freedom. There's nothing wrong with that. If people don't want that for themselves, we would have a hard time dictating that that's the way they have to live. And I think for the most part, we just let dictators be dictators and do what they do to their own people within their own nation. And that's their problem in a way. And that's probably the way we should be. We can't change the world, and we wouldn't want to. But when a dictator tries to take over other countries or tries to have their will forced on other people, that's when we step up. If you remember, Saddam Hussein tried to take over Kuwait. And when the first Bush was in office, and he put a quick stop to that, and we went in there and straightened out Iraq a little bit. We had an air war going on there for a while, and we taught our Iraqis that, you better back off. And they did, and when the ground war broke up, everybody threw up their arms and ran home and hid. And that war was over, and we should have, at that point, I think, gone on to Baghdad and got rid of Saddam Hussein at that particular time for having attempted such a foolish thing to take over the Kuwaitis, because he was a cockroach that was only going to fester. And that's what happened. And then eventually, the time came to we had to eliminate him anyways. But sometimes it's better to just take care of these cancers when they start to grow instead of letting them come into a full-blown tumor. And we should have done something quick. And now we have this ridiculous regime of the Obama administration and people like Lurch with John Kerry over there negotiating Iran deals with nuclear weapons and stuff. And there's no reason for us to be over there negotiating with these people at all. Why, what in the world are we trying to accomplish over there? You just forget about them. There's nothing they're going to do to us. If they want to bomb so much, why don't we just send them one? Here you go. Just plant one right on their Iran over there, and that'll take care of them. And we'll see if sand really does turn to glass. Maybe with any luck, it'll turn into diamonds for them, and now they'll have a backup besides the oil. I mean, we have to get common sense to run this world, especially America. We need common sense. I think that we have to teach it in school. Why don't we have a course starting in grammar school where you teach Common Sense 101? Teach it. I think it can be taught. Teach people how to use their own mind to determine what's right, what's wrong, and then if something doesn't make sense to you, then you know that it's the wrong thing to do. I think it would be very easy to teach it. Of course, I'm one of the world's greatest common sense individuals in the world. I've always had common sense. I've been accused of it anyways. I've even been accused of having too much common sense. Well, I'd rather have too much of something good like that than none at all. And I'll tell you what, there's people in this day and age that don't have any common sense whatsoever. And it's just befuddling to me. I just don't understand how anyone could be that dumb. And when you have a supposed leader in the White House that's never made a right decision in 7.5 years, he's come out on the wrong side of every single thing he's done has been proven wrong. And it just blows my mind that he must know what he's doing, or he's taking orders from somebody that's trying to ruin this country, because that's been the result. And the fact that we're even entertaining, and I'm not, maybe you are, but I'm not entertaining the fact of having Hillary Clinton in that White House, because I tell you what, just like Obama, when I first heard him give a speech, I said, that's an empty suit. That guy's acting like the candidate on that movie and just spewing out words that he knows people want to hear, with some puppet somewhere is feeding into his ear all this crap to talk about. And he looked just like that Robert Redford of that movie, The Candidate, just spewing out what people wanted to hear. That was an empty suit. He had absolutely nothing to say. And it's easy to spot. I mean, I can spot that in a second. My antenna goes up, and I know to stay away from somebody like that. And here we go, and we elect him as supposedly the first black president, and he's not even 100% black. Everything about the guy is a fraud. And how come there's no real records of him? Here's a good question that someone asked the other day. How come there's no girlfriends, former girlfriends? Well, I guess he had that mystical one, there's the mystery fat phantom girlfriend named Julia, was it, or something, that he wrote about in his book. Who is that chick? She never existed. Where are his college people that he used to hang out with and smoke all that dope? Smoked it religiously, remember? Enthusiastically, whatever his description of that stuff was. I mean, where are those people? Anyone out there know? I know Wayne Allen Root that went to Columbia or something the same time Obama went there. but he never saw the guy. He has no clue who the guy was. I went to college, fairly decent size in New Hampshire, University of New Hampshire. I didn't know everybody that was in school, but I certainly don't think anyone ever became president from there. And if someone had become president from there, I think that what I know about the school I went to, and I can only imagine about Columbia or some of these other places, would probably be similar. That if somebody had ended up being president, there'd be a lot of people that had hung out with that guy at school and knew him. I know in the University of New Hampshire, there'd be, Christ, I don't know, 1,000 people that would know you very well. And not one has come forth about Obama. You know what I think? I don't think he was ever there. If you went to school with Obama, give us a call. 702-493-5222. And let us know what kind of student old Obama was, if he even knew who he was, or was just too involved, enthusiastically smoking that dope to show up for any classes or anything. I mean, I would love to see what his real college records are. I know there's been a lot of people going to great lengths to hide them. I heard Obama had spent millions of dollars, not his money, of course, but someone else was going through a great expense to make sure that those records never came out. And this is the type of person that we elect to be president of the United States. We should be ashamed of ourselves. And what did we get for it? We've gone back 20 years in the United States of where we were. We've taken a 20 years worth of steps backwards. It's going to take us that long to dig ourselves out of the hole that this guy's got us at $20 trillion in debt. Can you imagine? Now, I know debt for a country is kind of like a joke. It's not like a household's debt where they have to do something to get by with, or they fold up and suffer and go homeless. But in America, you just print more money, do whatever, So it's kind of a situation that's not apropos to a lot of other businesses and people out there. That's not the way the world's run. But anyways, it's serious. When you're using up your entire gross national product to service a debt, I mean, what chance do you have of creating a better life for each generation? Up till now, every generation that we've left better off than the last generation until now. Now with Obama's presence in the White House for 7.5 years, the projection for the future generations is not very good. It's pretty deplorable. You've got college kids graduate from school, $200,000 in debt, and they're living in their parents' basement because they can't get their own place to live. They can't find a job. And it's just an absolute deplorable situation, and it's been done. People like to say, well, it's the fault of the voters. Well, I don't necessarily buy that 100%. The voters have a lot of things to do on their plate just to keep their head above water, and some of that necessity has been caused by the fact that you have to work so hard now to keep your head above the water because the esteemed leaders that have been running this show for so long have really deteriorated the economy to the point where nothing makes sense anymore. Look what's happened with health care. The government comes roaring in through Obama, and he's going to just solve all the health care problems. We're going to save $2,500 a year for health care. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, and all this crap. Well, it all turned out to be crap. I knew it was crap when it was being told to us because of common sense. Unfortunately, not enough people did know it was crap. And one you could point to is a Nancy Pelosi or a Harry Reid. Nancy Pelosi, we got to pass the bill to find out what's in it. These are our leaders. These are the type of people that we're looking at to come up with a good plan for this country and how we can make ourselves better. You don't have a chance in hell. That lady also said that unemployment's good because for every dollar we spend on unemployment, we get $1.79 back. That lady's an idiot, okay? A complete buffoon. Should not be running anything. We have to clean out our house of these terrible, incompetent boobs that have gotten themselves into power somehow from these liberal sanctuary cities, let's call them, for liberalism, like San Francisco, that are tremendously ideologically liberal, and they keep voting in these progressives that are just terrible for the country. Uh, Man, we've got to get some common sense. Now, the way to get this country at least to where we have a chance, we have to come from the bottom up through a grassroots movement, from community to community. We have to start at the smallest level, from the towns to the cities. We have to come that direction. And all over this country, we need a movement of people talking to other people and electing or identifying persons that want to go in a leadership position and represent their constituents, and for a limited period of time through the term limits like we talked about. And from that, we can spring forth with some good leadership and get some people into power that are not going to be subject to the absolute power that corrupts absolutely. And we need to have them limited out. And we keep electing people from the community to help us get past what we need to pass. We do need some form of government to make sure that everything does kind of work, but we have to make sure it works and works for the people, not against the people. What we've allowed to have happen to us here in the United States is we've been hijacked by people that have special interests and who have bought our elected officials and bought and paid for them. So they no longer work for us, they work for the special interest. And we need to eliminate that, and we have to do it from the grounds up. Now, one thing that will help to have some sort of a positive result immediately is to elect a Donald Trump, a businessman, somebody that knows how to run things, that's created his own successful business, and let him have the reins of the ship for a while and start passing things that are productive, that'll help create jobs, that'll get our economy going again, that will get us respected around the world, that'll get some trade treaties that are going to work for the benefit of the United States, and get good trade going, smart trade, not this lopsided $50 billion one-sided stuff going on with China and $60 billion with Mexico, and everybody beats us at the game because we are run by idiots. Can you imagine an Obama running a company? That company would fail in a heartbeat. Everything he's done wrong. And look at the things that they take as their main causes. Climate warming, global warming. What the hell is that going to accomplish for this world other than take money from one party and give it to another? It's ridiculous. You can't. It's ridiculous. And then the other policies like the minimum wage. We need a living wage. When did we change minimum wage into a thing called living wage? Where did that ever come from? We never had a living wage minimum. What is living wage? What is that? People that accept a job as minimum wage usually are just starting out or they're ending out, like people that go to be a greeter or something in their elderly years for supplemental income to their retirement, whatever they're getting. These are the minimum wage type earners, and people in the middle that are raising families and so forth can't sustain themselves on a minimum wage, and they shouldn't have to. They need to be able to go out and get a job that sustains their lifestyle and supports their family. And those jobs are out there. You need to be educated to fit into the stream of the type of people that get those jobs. And in the meantime, it helps nobody to have a higher minimum wage because that knocks unemployment. It creates more of it and creates more unemployment. And it's just stupid to profess otherwise. You are a fool. you're like a Nancy Pelosi. Unemployment makes $1.79 for every dollar spent. It's just stupid. If a company, a small company, like a hamburger place or a restaurant, has to pay their employees who supplement their earnings by tips and so forth. If they now have to be getting paid this higher minimum wage double, the proposals double, you're going to put all those restaurants and everything else out of business. Where they're going to have to change their policies so much that all the waiters and waitresses and people that have survived off tips, and that's all they know, are going to quit because you're going to cause turmoil by turning the way they have function that passed upside down. This is the type of stuff that government has a tendency to overreach and do, and they need to be nowheres near it. There's certain things the government can do. One of them is take care of the military. Two is take care of the interstate roads. Three, maybe to take care of certain airline regulations because airlines are all over the place. You can't control them by states, you have to control them federally because they're truly federal elements. They move around. One plane in the fleet in this country can be in almost in all 50 states every day. I mean, they certainly can be in 10 or 20 of them without a problem at all. And, this is the types of things you have to be limited to what the federal government does and what they can do, because believe me, there's only a few things that the government can do well. And when they step outside of those bounds, they do everything bad. And we need to smarten up. We need to have common sense running this country because nothing else will work. It's impossible for it to work. When you have a bureaucrat trying to run a company or a business, you're doomed for failure because the whole makeup of the bureaucratic system is not productive. It doesn't produce anything. It doesn't know how to make a better mousetrap and never will. These are just common sense realities, and we have to live with them and appreciate the fact that there's some truths in this world, and that's it, and that's what needs to be done. So we have a lot of makeup to do here. We've got to get this country straightened out, and it's going to go from the bottom up. So give us a call, 702-493-5222. Let us know what you think. We have to get this country back to common sense and back to things that'll work. If we know that things aren't going to work, like a bureaucratic type system on certain things where the government overreaches and gets involved where they shouldn't be, we need to zap it out right away. It's a cancer that can cause a lot of problems. So we need to beat it right then and there. And we need good, intelligent people that are paid very well to run this country. We need to look at this $400,000 a year salary for a president. I know back in the day, it was community service to do this type of work. So the people worked for government for less than they could in the private sector. Well, that's completely upside down now. The government sector has hijacked the people of this country and have taken their money away from them, and now they get all the benefits, the Cadillac health plans. They don't subject themselves to their own laws that Congress passes these laws, but they exempt themselves. I wonder why. They have their own health plan. They wouldn't be under Obamacare come hell or high water, and Obamacare wouldn't be under Obamacare. So it's completely fraudulent government we have here, and we need a clean house. And we can help get that started by getting Trump in there, and he can start from the top down. But that doesn't mean we all just go back to sleep. No, we have to wake up. We have to never let anything like this happen again. Trump's going to have a hard time getting elected because the whole system's fixed. It's fixed against somebody, a successful person wanting to run for government, because the leaders of the Democrat Party don't want anybody smart. They have to have dumb people like a Debbie Wasserman Schultz and a Harry Reid and a Nancy Pelosi. They need dumb people. That's the only thing that will survive in there. And then they need to fix it. They have to have these super delegates. So no grassroots movement can ever take over the Democrat Party. They get to say who's going to be their leaders, not the people, not the voters, not we the people. This is despicable. We have to make sure nothing like this ever happens. We've got to nip this in the bud. And the way we can do it, we have to get Trump in, and then we have to be vigilant. We have to demand that the actually both parties have to be eliminated. It's the only shot we got of straightening this out as quickly as we can. We have to get rid of the DNC and the RNC. The RNC is too weak. They're up against too much. The Democrats are too despicable, and they just will do every nasty trick in the book to win. And they'll fix the elections. And they'll put super delegates in there. They'll stack the deck with the Electoral College. They'll get all these refugees in here and whatnot to increase the head count, like what they've done in California. California is totally blue state. It'll never go back Republican because they've got too many heads that they've imported into that particular area of the country, that the census just goes and counts heads, and that gives California all these powers, all these electoral votes, all these congressmen, and it goes a long way to put this country in harm's way. When you're led by people like the Democrats, who are nothing but crooks and liars, we're in desperate straits. So let's hope we can get this done this time, because boy, if we can't, we're in a world of hurt. A world of hurt. And I don't know where I would go if I would ever have to leave this country that I was born into. Would be a shame. And there's other places in the world that I guess I could go to, but wouldn't really want to, because this still, in my estimation, has the best chance. But we got to make it happen. Otherwise, the whole world's going to be in a lot of trouble. Look what's happening over in Europe. Europe's not a pretty place right now. It used to be a lot of cultural diversity over there. You had all these different nations. They spoke different languages. You had the French, the German, the English, the Italians, the Greeks. You know, there were, I don't know, what, 10, 12 different languages over there. Everybody had their own culture type, and you could go from country to country and you'd be exposed to really different ways of life. And it was kind of interesting to see all that and compare one to the other. But this borderless world that John Kerry and these idiots talk about is stupidity. How can you have a borderless, and why would you want to have a borderless world where everybody just marched in lockstep to whatever you know? It's ridiculous, folks. It's just ridiculous. There's a lot of things that you can't improve upon. You have to keep some things the way they are. And that's just the way things need to be, because it's nature in a lot of respects. And when you start fooling with nature, you end up on the losing end of the stick. So we have, look what Britain just did. I think what they did was very productive, really, for them. I couldn't understand why their stock market and everything crashed as much. And if I really, I mean, I don't like the stock market because it's too crooked, to tell you the truth. But every now and then something like this comes along where everybody overreacts. And I knew with the stock market dropping 800 or 900 points in 2 days, that the opportunity was there to certainly make some quick money. But the quick money you make has a lot of risk to it. And then when you make the money, it gets, you have to pay taxes on it. And if you should lose some money, you can only write off a paltry $3,000 a year. You could have lost millions, and you can only write off $3,000 a year. So the game is virtually structured in such a way that it's a crooked game. Nobody would play in a game like that, really, if it wasn't the only game in town. That's the big casino, is our stock market. And all the institutional investors, all the people that take other people's money, the hedge funds and this and that, it's all a bunch of games that are being played. And it's a risky, risky game. Unless you're one of the big boys, you're going to take a bath. And look what somebody lost $3 trillion. That's a massive amount of people. It wasn't somebody, it was a lot of people lost a lot of wealth because they were the dummies. They're the ones that were sticking in this game, and they just took a huge hit. Had all their 401ks and stuff take a big, big beating. Now, some of these people, when when stuff like this happens, they almost are forced to sell out because they can't afford to keep going with what they had. So then they end up taking it on the chin because they can't survive. If you have a lot of money, you buy more is what you do. When an opportunity like this comes up, I guess you just buy more. And then I would have sold out myself after, maybe after today or tomorrow. I knew it was going to bounce back, and it appears to be bouncing back. But I know it's going to be short-lived, and the stock market right now is up 269 points. Uh, so what is that? It's 1.57% up. Wonderful. So it's coming back a little bit, but it was almost 1,800 when this mess started, and now it's 17.4. So it's down still 600 points from where it was, and so it's still, but it'll come back until something else happens. And if this country, this stock market is way, way overvalued. And like I was saying, if it wasn't the only game in town where the people that play the game, the institutional investors, the people who are using other people's money, the way they put food on their table is they have to have this money going around at their direction. And that's how they justify their being. And so they have to have a game to play. If they didn't have the stock market, they'd all be out of work. And where the money would go to be invested is anybody's guess, because it would be a big, big, big gaping hole of how people invest their money. And, it would be a tough thing to match, I'll tell you what, because it's like the only game around, and it's a fixed game, and it's dangerous, folks. I've been out of the stock market for a couple of years now, and I just thought the whole thing was going to crash because of Obama and because of the last election. I really got out kind of when Obama was reelected. I didn't see anything good happening. I know it's a phony deal. And then the other reason I got out was this contrived, whatever they call it, this where the government's buying bonds and this and that, and they're propping up the stock market to create they're artificially funding the stock market so it doesn't crash, and then they're artificially keeping the interest rate low, because if the interest rate were to go to what it needed to be at to be logical, the federal government would go broke. So it's all a contrived game. It's all phony, contrived, and directed by Washington and the Fed. It's just a crooked game, folks. And there's no better game around, so it's the game you're kind of forced to play until you get yourself in a position where you don't have to play anymore. Unfortunately, I've been able to get in that position where I don't have to worry about trying to struggle to make any sense out of what happens in this world, because I haven't been able to make sense since Obama first got elected. Nothing in this world's made sense to me since then, because every single thing he's done's been wrong. And I think it's reflective in the numbers, these phony baloney numbers coming out of Washington, like a 5.7% unemployment rate is a joke. It's about as far off as one can be. You have about a 30-something%, maybe as high as 40% unemployment rate, because there's only 200-something million people in the workforce in this country, and there's 95 million people looking for work. So you do the numbers. Does that equate to a paltry 5% unemployment rate? Hell no. So they're phony, phony numbers that come out of Washington, D.C. If a company ran the way that they account here in Washington, you'd all be in jail. There wouldn't be anybody that wasn't in jail. The whole system is fraud. It's smoke and mirrors. It's all just not trustworthy. And we have to do something to get this country back to where it makes sense again. And where I'm going to go, I don't know. I'll probably just hang around and watch the devastation come. And thank God I'm an old fart. And, I guess I'll get out of this world in time, but I don't know about the people that are being, people that are 10, 15, 20 years old even, people being born today. I don't know what kind of a country they're going to have.
by the time they get to be my age, I don't know what's going to be left, to tell you the truth. There's going to have to be some things that happen that are be over my head, like trying to figure out, like Venezuela, what's going to happen to a country like that? They are in bad times, and it was all done by a guy named Chavez. We remember him. He was a maniac. If they hadn't found a bunch of oil down there in that country, this would have happened a long time ago. But they've pissed away that apparently, and this is the type of thing that we talk about with leadership. Chavez was a fool uh, as a communist. And look at the devastation that that type of stuff creates. Look at the people in Cuba. They survive off $20 a month. How do they do that? It's because they live in an area where that's the norm. Uh, I don't know. It's a tough way to go. And I don't know what the answer is, folks, but I know the only thing that's going to make this country come back to what we once were is the people have to make it come back. And when we were founded, this country was nothing but vacant land and a few Indians living around. And we came over here and started developing a new society here in this country. And it ended up being a capitalist country. And it created the healthiest, strongest nation in the world. And now there's no place left to go. There's some people signing up for these Mars trips, a one-way trip. I don't know what that's all about, but nothing that I want to be a part of. But anyways, I just hope that the people in this country can come together, join the herd or organizations like the herd. The number one thing, objective should be to be heard, get your voice out there, and discuss things with your fellow Americans and see what we want to do. And you have to get rid of this division. You can't listen to parties. If it doesn't make sense what someone's telling you to do the opposite. Okay, if a Democrat, a liberal tells you something, do the opposite. And you'll be on the right side of history because you'll be doing what they don't want to do. And that's usually going to be the way to go. So trust me, we need to make this country great again. We can do it starting with Donald Trump. And I hope you support him. And I hope what could be worse than what we got now? Or what we could have with a Hillary Clinton, there's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison. So vote Donald Trump, get him in office. Let's see what happens the first 4 years he's in office. And I think every American is going to be pleasantly surprised. Those of us that can still think will be pleasantly surprised. I don't know what's going to happen to the 47% if they're going to be able to see the handwriting on the wall, because you're going to have all the media and all these other people just completely tearing down everything that's done. It's like that example of the company. Half the people are going to be against you. How are you ever going to be a success? But that's all we got to go on. We have to try, because other than that, we give up and we just become a bunch of ants in an ant farm. So we can do this. We have to get together to do it. So call us up, let us know what to do. We'll take your suggestions and ideas and we'll get them out there. Thanks again.